Blessings, Hatep and Ma'at. That means I'm offering you truth. I'm Asnefraka, and welcome to our energy reading. If it's your first time here, welcome. This is Tehuti Ma'at. We are a revolutionary instrument. Specifically, we are a cooperative that is specifically focused on building cooperative institutions in the areas of healing, art, and education, specifically for the upliftment and empowerment and the resurrection of people of African ascent. So, this reading is brought to you by Coins and Cowries. Coins and Cowries is one of our cooperative business ventures. It is a it is a spiritual marketplace where we offer spiritual goods and services. And if you're interested in booking a personal reading, then you can visit the link in the description on coinsandcowries.com. And without further ado, I want to go ahead and get started with today's reading. So, if you're returning, welcome back. I've missed you. Um, I'm really glad to be here sharing today's reading. So, a few disclaimers that I always like to give. Remember that the guidance is inside of you. So use your intuition. If you're watching the replay or the raw play, as we like to say, please pause when you see the images of the different cards. Take a moment to take note of what comes up for you intuitive. That is so important, right? I'm just a mirror of you, and these cards are just a tool, okay? So my readings are a little different than people may be used to with other readings. This is based on an alchemical oracle system that is based on ancient African sacred science from Kemet, also known as ancient Egypt. So I'm going to go ahead and show, this is a pyramid reading. So the 10 card spread. I'm going to go ahead and show this beautiful spread briefly, and I'm going to go over the, honestly, I don't think I'm going to go through the entire reading here. I may leave the bottom portion of the reading for members of Tehuti Ma'at. This is an exclusive, but I wanted to make sure to come on here and share because we have beautiful energy this moon cycle. But remember, this reading was done in ritual at the ocean. So this is a water reading, not a fire reading, which I typically do readings in fire ritual. But this is specifically the energy of this moon cycle that we're in. But everything is everything. So whenever you are arriving to this reading, then there's a message here for you. So just trust that it's a fated experience, and whatever is here for you, you will know. All right. So let me go ahead and share. I just want to show the reading. Oops. I apologize because I'm trying my best with this lighting. This really isn't helpful. I apologize, family, because this lighting is not helping. All right, so it's a 10 card spread, essentially. I'm going to go over each card in the reading. Let me fix this. All right. Okay, so the reason why I titled this reading Expanding the Heart of the World is because there is a lot of expansion that we're embodying right now. So if you're part of this collective and you're attracted to this reading, then it's because you are in the soul family that this energy applies to. The reading is just reading on the energy. It's not predicting the future. It's just energies, forces of nature that are expressing themselves that we have access to. They're indwelling within us. We can embody these energies. They are surrounding us, right? And influencing our life. So being conscious of them helps to navigate with more ease and grace, trust for your life. So the first card of this reading is Moot. All right, it's in the family of Ah, which is the family of the moon. So remember, if you're watching, to take a pause. And this card, Moot, is representative of the mother energy. Now, there's a few things you may notice if you're looking at the card. Why does she have some phallic symbols surrounding her, and literally she is shown with an erection? Now, this is very significant because Mut represents the mother force of nature. Mut is specifically the role of the mother, right? So that is the energy that is really the guiding principle of the entire reading. The top of the spread is the fire principle, and that is the spark. This card influences all of the other cards in the reading. So it's representing this gestation process, right? When we think about the mother, we think about literally pregnancy, we think about the birth, right? And gestation is a process, right? The child, we all gestated in our mother's womb before we were born. And if a baby is born before it is complete gestating, what do we call that? Premature, right? So there's an aspect of this like patience, this selflessness of the mother that is represented in this reading. Now, the other energy or aspect of this energy that I want to highlight is the fact that that phallic principle was there, right? That masculine, that erection. That represents the fact of the mother being complete within herself, right? A mother can literally give birth to a son. So she can literally give birth to masculine energy. So it's representing that aspect of activity, right? Active nourishment, the act of giving birth, but specifically gestation in a physical, mental, or even spiritual sense. So it's something that's gestating, and this expression of love, this expression of the mother energy is really important right now. So, really, I want you to consider what aspect of nurturing, of selfless expressions of love, how and where can you open your heart? In what ways? What situations are challenging you to open your heart? Because really, what this reading really holds is a lot of adversity as well. So I think this moon cycle is going to be presenting some challenges and opportunities to expand your heart. Now, remember, the heart is a muscle. And what happens when we want to build muscle? Right? When we are lifting weights or doing anything to build muscle, the muscle has to tear. Right? So think about that in the context of the heart. When we tear our muscles and they rebuild, we get what we perceive as like that strength, right? Because when the muscles are building back together, that is what is going to create the tension and the strength in the muscle. Now, the other aspect of muscle to consider is you always want to stretch, right? Once you're working out and you're building muscle, it's important to stretch so you don't get stiff, right? So really think about the heart muscle, really think about the mothering energy, really think about nurturing, really think about the ways that you can embody this particular aspect of the feminine or the female principle, because it's very potent and present in this moon cycle. Now, when we move into the second layer of the reading, we're getting into these two cards, which represent the air element. So the second layer of the reading as air represents the mind and the mental energy. So we're going to start with the first card, which speaks to energies that are affecting our mind, that are energies from the past that are still having an influence in our mind. So remember to take note of whatever comes up for you intuitively. This card is the Amamit. It's in the house of the Duat, and it's the number 5. Now, I didn't speak on the number of Mut being number 6, which is interesting because number 6 is the number of perfection, right? When we think about the carbon compound being 6 protons, 6 electrons, and 6 neutrons, carbon being the building blocks of life, 6 being a perfect number. There's a lot of aspects of why 6 is significant. Now, when we go into 5, 5 is a number where you're moving out of the 4, which brings stability. So 5 brings typically change, right? It could be destabilizing, it can be challenging, but that change brings power. So I see 5 as a power number. It builds strength. So that's why I'm saying there is a challenging energy in this moon cycle. So it's just important to just be aware of that, because this card in particular, being in the family of the Duat, it's in the family of the underworld, which is interesting because the other card that came up in this layer is also in the Duat. So what is the Duat? The Duat is, in ancient Kemetic science, the underworld, as I said, right? But it can also be considered the subterranean or the subconscious realm, or the night, right? The Duat is the 12 hours of the night that we constantly move through. It's the space that we have to move through and transition into the day. So there's a lot of different sacred texts that really speak on this particular realm. And that's why a lot of people who may not be super familiar with Kemetic science, but even just through mainstream media, you will know that there was an extreme reverence placed on death and on this aspect, right, of life in Kemetic culture. Now, the Duat, or the underworld, is really representing a significant space because it is the space where it's beneath the soil, beneath the surface, right? Like subconscious or even unconscious, right? So it's the night, it's the shadow, it's the dark, right? It's all of those elements. The Amamit is a specific creature that is symbolically depicted in the judgment scene, right? So it was shown that after a cycle completes itself, whether that's a day or a life cycle, the soul or the heart of the querent is brought into judgment. It's brought to the judgment hall of Asar, which has the scales of Ma'at, which are the scales where the heart is placed on one side and the feather of Ma'at, the ostrich feather, is placed on the other side. And the heart is weighed against this feather of truth, Ma'at representing truth, justice, balance, reciprocity, sobriety, propriety, morality, wholeness. So if the heart was as light as a feather, then the person passes through. If the heart was found heavier than the feather, then the querent was considered to be wanting, right? Their heart was heavy, and their heart would be devoured by this creature that was part hippo, part leopard, part crocodile, right? It was seen as something ferocious. If you're familiar with biblical texts, you know that in Daniel or in Revelation even, you have a lot of symbolism very similar to this, because a lot of that comes from these sacred texts from Kemet. So this is what devours the heart, right? So that's why I'm saying it's an opportunity to expand the heart. So if your heart is heavy, oftentimes to lighten our heart requires expanding our heart. So there may be certain things that may be causing you guilt, causing your heart to be heavy. You could be on the other side, right? The receiving side, or you could be the one who needs to seruj ma'at, or restore ma'at. So that can be challenging in itself, right? This card itself represents danger even, right? But we're talking about on a psychological note. So there could be some thoughts, some patterns, beliefs, anything that can affect the mind, ideas. It could be anything dealing with technology, communications, right? So when we're dealing with the mental realm, it's speaking to an aspect of danger and really your integrity being tested, or the need for you to have courage to overcome some type of adversity, some type of challenge, because the heart is considered the seat of courage, right? A strong heart is a courageous heart, a brave heart, right? So interestingly, the energy that's in front, right, that's the energy that's behind, that's still influencing, but the energy that's in front that we're moving towards happens to also be in the duat, as I mentioned. So take note of whatever comes up for you intuitively. Pause if you need to. Anpu is symbolized by the jackal. So this particular card, Anpu, is number 3 in the duat. Again, still that house of the underworld, right? So think of the underworld as that subconscious state or unconscious state, and as you move through it, you birth the light, right? The sun goes through the darkness, right? Ra, the bolt of Ra, travels through the darkness and it rises again, right? So as you move through the night, in the duat, this card number 3 symbolizing the creative force, the Trinity, right? So many important aspects of the 3, right? When the 2 comes together to create the third. Now, usually this is shown with a priest with a jackal mask, right? So we think about a jackal as like a form of a canine, a dog, strong sense of smell, right? Good judgment. Anpu is the one who ushers the deceased, or it's the guide into the underworld, right? It's the protector. It's also the embalmer, right? When the body deceased, when the body died, the actual embalming process, right, which most people know as mummification, um, when the body was bandaged, wrapped, and like specifically, beautifully, scientifically preserved, that was this energy that was present in that process. So this preparing for the journey into the night. This is all symbolic. So remember, the jackal represents good judgment and discernment, right? It knows how to find the thing, right? It's things, just consider it symbolically. Now, Anpu represents a spiritual or like magical, like a guide, right? Into the mysteries, right? So when we talk about the subterranean, we talk about the duat, we're also going into the mystery. We're going into occult knowledge, right? That's not on the surface, or it's gathered through initiation. So this could also be a friend, a trusted advisor. This could literally be a person who is influencing your mind. It could also present itself energetically in many different forms. Energetically, remember, this is a force of nature. So that force of discernment can come to you through communication. It could come through you through connection, right? This is the mental realm. Now, that piece is really important because mentally you want to be prepared for the process that we're moving through this cycle to expand the heart. Remember, everything is connected. That nurturing element, aspects of nurturing yourself, being able to receive nurturing. Remember, the mother and the feminine, the female energy is representing receptivity, right? When we think about it in pure scientific terms as nature, the masculine energy or the male energy is active, and the female or feminine energy is receptive. So one pushes, the other pulls. And that's part of the beautiful dance of symmetry that creates all things in this realm, right? So consider that receptivity that's necessary, that openness, that surrender, right? The feminine has to be in surrender, receive, trust, right? It's vulnerability. And again, the test, right? Whatever is going to test your integrity, the state of your heart. Really, this is a great time to evaluate the state of your heart. This is a great time to be prepared, to prepare yourself for whatever process that you're moving through, whatever is coming up from the subconscious, or it will come up from the subconscious, because the rest of the reading has a lot of really potent energy. I'm not going to get into the cards because I want to keep this short. I just wanted to make sure to come on and share the energy of this cycle because I'm really excited about it. My solar return is approaching. It is Tehuti season, and guess what's dead center in the reading? Tehuti. This is the energy, and this placement in the reading is the energy that connects both our earthly and our spiritual lives. So Tehuti is a card that's in the house of Ah, or the family of Ah, which is the family of the moon. Tehuti is a lunar principle, so you see that full moon overhead. So we're going to approach in this moon cycle full moon in Neith, or Sagittarius, which is the opposite of Tehuti, which is Gemini. And it's the access of knowledge, right? You have higher knowledge and lower knowledge. You have the realm of communication and intellect, expansion, um, wisdom, right? So whatever comes up for you intuitively, you can tune in. I will speak on this card specifically because we're in Tehuti season, and I want to also note that this is another 5 card. There were a number of 5 cards. How many? There's 3 other 5 cards in this reading. So a lot of change energy, a lot of energy around building strength, building power, and there's a lot of expansion. So this means expansion of the mind. Tehuti does represent the realm of information, of intellect, of eternal knowledge, of wisdom, communication, connection. There's just an abundance of energy in that space. So we're talking about anything dealing with writing, literature. Tehuti is the scribe, right? Every time in the judgment scene, Tehuti is the one who writes down the record. So Tehuti also represents accountability, right? It's keeping a record of everything that was and everything that will be. So that's what people know as the Akasha or the Akashic records. So um, that's a very significant energy in the cycle. We also have transformation. I'll just show them really briefly. We have Bennu, another 5 card. Akha is the family of fire. So this is Bennu is the phoenix, what the Greeks interpret as the phoenix. Bennu is an aspect of Asar. Remember, we talked about the judgment hall of Asar. Asar is the ruler of the underworld. Asar is the sacred masculine principle, or the divine masculine that resurrects after moving into the space in the realm of darkness. So this does represent that resurrection. It represents rebirth, right? Remember, the phoenix burns down, Bennu burns down to the ashes and is birthed from the ashes. So something has to completely come to ashes and be rebirthed. So we have that rebirth energy. We have this Tehuti energy. We have this Bastet energy, which is the feline, right? This is in the emotional realm. So this is how we're actually going to be sensing the energies in the more sensual or spirit body, right? Through the way we emote and others emote, it'll be more sensory. And that is an energy of celebration, of joy. So there is an aspect of this process that is going to birth some exuberance. So it's marriage, it's celebration, it's anything that's dealing with that realm, right? So it's also attraction, sensuality. Think about the feline and how it moves. It's very sensual. The feline is also agile. So there's an aspect of that energy to tap into emotionally and embody. Yes, it's a great time to embody that sensuality. And then at the bottom of the reading, so much going on here. I'm not going to get into this piece, but what I will do is just summarize it. The way that the energy moves into the earth energy and how we physically experience it in the more material world, like the matter and things that actually sense and feel and such, there is an aspect of the creative force that's present. So creativity, art, it's a great time to tap into art as a form of expression, especially as a way to move through the adversity or move through whatever the challenging situation is going to be for you to expand the heart. And there's this aspect of Nefertum, which is really a beautiful energy. It's the joy of realization. It's the young lover. It's, the essence of feeling, some people associate it with not psychedelics, but just like altered states of consciousness, right? So it could be like in the image here, it's depicted with the blue lotus, which was known to have DMT. So it could be considered like even things like weed, marijuana, Santa Maria, right? All of the different elements that express itself through expanding our consciousness. And Apep is here. Every time I see Apep, I'm like, ooh, we're gonna have to really face whatever is leeching on you or however you are being parasitic in nature. This is the primary piece that card represents. So it is important to represent that, to express that, because it represents oppression. It can also represent unconscious fears coming up, attachments, right? Like, and I mean like entity attachments, thought forms and beliefs, density, things that could be tethered to you, or memories that you have to confront. So it's a very important piece. Like, this is where the challenge in the to express it in the more material sense of how you'll probably face that adversity. We talked about it mentally with the Amamet and your heart being tested, but really in a material sense, I really recommend doing a parasite cleanse. And funny enough, I'm about to bring back some Aztec golden root, which is great for cleansing the parasites. So that will be on the Queens and Kari shop at some point. Let me go ahead and we're gonna definitely activate the social media. We haven't really been on using the Instagram, but I do think it would be great for you to follow the Coins and Kari's IG, because when I put the the golden root into the shop, you'll be able to see it. A lot of people have been looking for things to support with parasite cleanses. It's also it's really a divine root. I mean, it's very ancient. I'm bringing it back from here, from Mexico. It is authentic. It is like very potent, very strong, very blessed. The way that I acquired it, or it was given to me or offered to me, is such a divine story in itself. How I was able to, you know, get this beautiful investment abundantly. And yeah, many people may be familiar with it also because it is usually chewed on, or even sometimes it's sold as a spray or tincture, and it kind of creates a fizziness in the mouth. It's very antibacterial. It's great for anything like sore throat. Yeah, so many different benefits. But anyway, I'm saying that because this parasitic energy is present. So you do want to address it in a physical sense. So this is very material when we're talking about this realm. And everything starts in spirit before it takes form in flesh. So if you're dealing with that type of entity formation, it is going to express itself in the body somehow. So that's why I'm expressing the parasite cleanse. You can get any type of parasite cleanse that you can find if you're familiar with other things. And then the card completes itself with Kekut, which is Tepiaun. This is the family of the primordials. So I know I'm not going thorough into these cards. I wasn't going to share them, but I just want to complete it by saying this is really about moving through the darkness and having that glimmer of light, that hope that moves you through, and the perseverance that blooms into a new perception, a new way of seeing your experience, the world, right, from an expanded heart space. So that could come for many people through some type of psychedelic experience. We're having our ancient medicine retreat here in Mexico. So if you're watching this live and you're interested in that, our Kepra Ancient Medicine retreat, where we have the ceremony with Mama Ayahuasca and Papa Peyote, is really literally an embodiment of this Nefertum energy. But if you safely align with a way to engage with plant medicine, this would be a great way. Please do so with respect. Please do so with great discernment. Pool, because there's a lot of people out here abusing these medicines, and these are very, very sacred realms that you're opening yourself up to, and it is dangerous. So there's no joke about that. With the Amamit, with the Apep, right? You have to be careful, right? So even if you're not in that, altered state of consciousness where you can perceive those realms, it is still very real. We are in a degenerate cycle. There are a lot of malevolent forces on the planet. Do not be naive. Everything is not love and light. However, love and light is the way that we fight, right? These forces. There are so many ways that we can shine our light and use that as a way to move through this space, right? Activating and tuning into solar powered energy is very important. So I just want to invite anyone who enjoyed this reading to go ahead and support Tehuti Ma'at. You can go ahead and leave a donation via Cash App. If you want to support us at tehutimaat.org, you can support us at Coins and Caris, book a service, book a reading. And if you have any questions or want to reach out, you can contact us at grow@tehutimaat.org via email, or you can text us at 646-883-MAAT. And I want to thank you for joining us for this reading. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you next time. All right. Power.